So Halo Infinite has been delayed, and I for one am absolutely fine with it. I'm not upset or angry or disappointed at all. The post that announced it basically said that multiple factors had influenced the decision, the COVID situation being chief among them. You have to bear in mind that when developing a game with the scope of Halo Infinite, it's no mean feat, and to do this while also being in lockdown with many employees working from home, that takes away the ease of collaboration and being able to pop over to someone's desk and ask questions and see what they're doing and get inspired and then go off and develop some new ideas yourself. But in any case, I would rather receive Halo Infinite at a later date and it actually be a completed product that actually fulfills the vision of the creator than get it at an earlier date and it being half finished and full of problems. Games' first impressions means a lot and has in the past been the make or break factor of new titles. So take all the time you need for Thor 3. I have complete and utter faith that you've made the right decision. Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00. So with Infinite being delayed, that gives me more time to speculate on some aspects of Infinite. And this one is kind of an extension to my previous video about the Primordial or precursors. If you haven't seen it, link is in the description, it will be at the end of this video. Now, by the time Halo Infinite launches, the Halo franchise will officially be 20 years old. And given that I was there when Halo CE launched back in 2001, that makes me feel as ancient as the precursors, because I remember playing Halo CE for hours upon hours alone and with friends. To shamelessly plug another video here, I made a video called Remembrance a while ago, reflecting on Halo overall. The link is in the description. If you love Halo as much as I do, you need to watch it. It's a little gift from me to you. There are so many aspects of Halo that have come to define a Halo game. It's difficult to imagine Halo without the Warthog, without the Pelican, without Mjolnir, without the Covenant. It's tough to imagine a Halo game without its lore, the canon of Halo, its storyline, its complex, interlinked linear narrative with subtle, deep lore integrated into the level designs in a kind of hidden experience. Halo isn't Halo without campaign, custom games, matchmaking, late-night gaming, sessions with your buds. Whether it's the campaign or multiplayer you love, whether going red versus blue or fighting as Arby and the Chief, Halo has a set of expectations that makes it a Halo game, but each step of the way something new enters the fold and enriches the Halo experience. With hope, Infinite should contain all of these things and more. If hope is delivered, we may discover that Infinite has become the ultimate Halo game. But there is another aspect of Halo I haven't mentioned, which was a massive part of the story in the original trilogy, and it's only been hinted at in more recent games. That was the Flood. Now there are tons of theories and speculation floating around in regards to the Flood being in Infinite. So let's look at the evidence and see if there's more substance to these theories. Let's find out if the Flood are actually going to be in Halo Infinite. Now the lore is pretty academic. Zeta Halo has a long, rich history with the Flood, as I covered in my previous video about the Primordial. In fact, even to this day, at least in theory, there are still 10 proto-grave mines in storage on Zeta Halo alongside Flood specimens and samples. Zeta Halo was somewhat at the centre of the earlier stories of the Forerunner and the true horrors of the Flood. It was on Zeta Halo that we were introduced to the Primordial, the last precursor. It was on Zeta Halo that humans were experimented on with Flood samples by the master builder Faber. It was on Zeta Halo that Mendicant Bias was corrupted and converted to act against his Forerunner creators, and it was on Zeta Halo that Mendicant Bias was overwritten by the Isodidact and put into a forced imprisonment, as well as the Isodidact then fast-forwarding the time-locked chamber that the Primordial was contained within, forcing it to experience billions of years in seconds, which effectively decayed it back to dust. The fact that there's a distinct possibility that it might be able to revive itself from this dust is neither here nor there at the moment, but that may become a more interesting and compelling plot point should we actually confirm the Flood are in Halo. But that covers at least the immediate lore evidence that we have that the Flood should be in Halo Infinite, but there's more. In behind the scenes videos that have been released on 343 Industries Instagram, we have confirmed noises being created by a pug. Now this has been covered by some of my other fellow Halo YouTubers, and I've got to admit, particularly in Hidden Xperia's video, the sounds of the pug and the sounds of the Flood are strikingly similar, bearing in mind that there was no post-production effects or anything like that done to the audio of the pug. It was raw, unedited audio. And yet when compared to some of the sounds of the Flood, it's eerily familiar. He's such a happy doggo. Now in the same breath, yes, the sounds could go through post-production and be made to sound more like some of the grunt noises, but we've already heard the grunts in gameplay, and I'm not sure about you, but I didn't really pick up any sounds that could particularly have been made by the pugs, even if it was edited heavily, which leads me to believe that perhaps these sounds really are for the Flood. What's all the more interesting is that you have to consider that the last time that the Flood actually appeared in a mainline Halo game was in Halo 3, when we finally finished the fight with Chief. The Flood haven't been seen in any mainline Halo game since, but they have been seen in a Halo game. In fact, in Halo Wars 2, and in particular the Awakening the Nightmare DLC, and it is there that we found that the Flood who were on High Charity that crashed into the Ark actually survived the firing of the Halo. This is likely due to the fact that the Halo wasn't actually completed, so its firing sequence was probably not fully effective, and it probably shook itself to bits before it had the chance to actually fire correctly. But nonetheless, this means that Flood survived on High Charity. It just so happens that High Charity has been sealed within its own containment unit, independent from the rest of the Ark, but unfortunately there are members of the Banished that went above and beyond the call of duty to actually gain access to High Charity and release the Flood onto at least some contained sections of the Ark. Atriox was not pleased.
I told you not to go inside. For good reason. Secure the breach. Clean up your mess. I will be waiting for you when you are done.
What I find most interesting is that the Banished obviously appeared in Halo Wars 2 and are now confirmed in Halo Infinite. The Flood returned in Halo Wars 2. Are they going to be confirmed as returning in Halo Infinite? And what's more, you've got to consider that the games that 343 have released that do have the Flood in them since 343 Industries took over have technically been anniversary versions of older games. So 343 actually haven't tackled the Flood in their own way before. And the Flood we saw on High Charity in Halo Wars 2 were, well, look at them. It's pretty visceral, to be fair. They've done a bloody good job at recreating just how malformed and disgusting the Flood really are, which fills me with great faith that they're actually going to execute the appearance of the Flood on Zeta Halo in a really, really visceral way. Hopefully with just as much impact as we got when we first discovered the Flood in Halo CE. And hell, that may be why they haven't actually even announced that the Flood are in Halo Infinite. They want it to remain a surprise. I can't help but feel with Halo Infinite having the day-night cycles that perhaps nighttime isn't a wise time to be out lurking in the darkness, because the likelihood is you're probably not the only thing lurking out there. But finally, the kind of smoking gun of this video, we're going to have to go way back to the Slipspace engine demo. Now, there was a scene in this video where the camera appears to be down a well, for lack of a better word, and even way back then I remember people saying that they thought they saw a Flood tentacle. But nothing's really been said on that since. So I went back and I watched that particular part of the video over and over and over again. And this scene at 11 seconds, if you play it forward and then backwards and forwards and backwards, you can actually quite clearly make out a structure, a tentacle-like structure, moving back and forth relative to the wall. Some people argued this was a vine, but vines don't move on their own. Some vines move on their own. There's a type of plant that was present on the Ark that was a sentient plant that can actually move around. But, yeah, I don't think Chief is quite ready to take on a raging herd of hydrangeas. When you take this tentacle-like structure, however, and you compare it to the sensory appendages on the front of the infection form we see get shot by a spike rifle in Halo Wars 2, again, there are some eerie similarities. There has been subtle suggestion of the Flood perhaps being present in Halo Infinite for quite a long time, and given the history of Zeta Halo with the Flood, given the behind the scenes we've seen of the pug noises being made for Halo Infinite, given the re-emergence of the Flood alongside the Banished in Halo Wars 2 and now the Banished conveniently turning up in Halo Infinite, and given these very subtle and very, very brief hints at perhaps a tentacle moving inside this well of sorts, it seems to me that they are keeping it very subtle but pointing towards the direction that the Flood are making a return to Halo. And if the Flood are staged to return to Halo, then my theory on the precursors and the primordial and the living universe and the Flood being all one and the same becomes all the more worrying. But this isn't an open-close case. It is subject to interpretation, so I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below whether you think the Flood are going to be in Halo Infinite, and if they are, is it better that we know now, or is it better that it's kept a secret and is revealed as kind of a surprise while we're playing? It's confirmed that Halo Infinite has open world mechanics, but if there's even perhaps a world event kind of mechanic built into the game as well, could the Flood actually emerge, so to speak, on Zeta Halo for everyone globally at the same time as kind of a curveball surprise? Could there be live world events that show the ring evolving over time and also the emergence of new threats? Halo Infinite has been delayed, but we are gradually receiving more information about what's going to be happening in Halo Infinite. In the coming weeks and months we will discover hope. But there are some secrets that are best left undiscovered. Thanks for watching. Stick your comments down below. I look forward to what you have to say. I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons: Neek the Silent Cartographer, Brian, Sebastian, Red Sea, Darian, Stalker of the Realms, Falcon X003, Alvin, Mr. Fell, Flaming Halo and the Revanche that holds the mantle, my glorious Reclaimers, my loyal Metarchs, and all the other patrons that have jumped aboard to support the channel. You guys are awesome, and all this wouldn't be possible without you. If you like Halo lore discussed to insane levels of detail, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you're told the second a new video hits the shelves. Be sure to support us on all major social media channels, including Discord, and if you really love the channel, consider